Good evening. You're watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. First, the headlines. Their Royal Highnesses, Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall, leave the Sultanate after a 3-day visit. The 28th Arab Scouts Conference in Muscat reviews strategic plan for Arab Scout movement. And the Minister of Manpower issued a decision on amending fees for issuing work permits to bring non-Omani workers. Those are the headlines, and now the news in detail. His Royal Highness Prince Charles of Wales and Her Royal Highness Duchess Camilla of Cornwall and their delegation left the country this evening after a 3-day visit to the Sultanate, during which they met His Majesty Sultan Qaboos. They were seen upon departure at their airport by His Highness Sayyid Haytham bin Tariq Al Said, His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Mohammed Al Futaisi, Minister of Transport and Communications, Head of the Honorary Mission, Her Excellency Dr. Rawiya bin Saud Al Busaidiya, Minister of Higher Education, His Excellency Sheikh Abdul Aziz bin Abdullah Al Hinai, Sultan's Ambassador to the United Kingdom, His Excellency John Wilkes, UX Ambassador accredited to the Sultanate, and members of the British Embassy in the Sultanate. Prince Charles of Wales met with an exclusive gathering of young leaders from Oman at the Al Bustan Palace Hotel today. The Young Leaders Program is an initiative that aims to developing the capabilities of the young leaders. About 110 young leaders are graduates of John Smith Fellows. Outward Bound Oman, the Prince's Trust, the second generation of the British Council, and Anglo-Omani Society are promoted by the British Council to take part in the program. During the visit, Prince Charles of Wales was accompanied by His Excellency Dr. Ahmed Mohammed Al Futaisi, Minister of Transport and Communications. His Royal Highness Prince Charles of Wales met the explorers who crossed the empty Kota desert on 10th of December 2015, led by the British explorer Mark Evans. Prince Charles was briefed on the success made by this journey and difficulties facing the explorers through viewing some photographs of the journey and the latest developments of the journey, such as releasing the book and the documentary by the end of 2016. The journey kicked off from Salalah in the Governorate of Dhofar with participation of 2 Oman explorers, namely Muhammad Al-Zijali and Amr Al-Wahibi. Duchess Camilla of Cornwall, who is accompanying Prince Charles of Wales on this current visit, the Sultan visited My Library Corner of Dar al-Ataz Association at Khorram Commercial Center today. Duchess Camilla toured the corner, during which she was briefed on the library and its mobile library, which is considered the first mobile library in the Sultanate and part of Let's Read campaign of Dar al-Ataz Association. My Library Corner aims at urging students and individuals of the society to read and discover knowledge through availing a collection of various cultural and scientific books. Her Royal Highness Duchess Camilla of Cornwall visited today the Children's Public Library at Al Khorram, which is expected to be opened during the coming months. During the visit, she toured the reading halls and viewed the building, which consists of 5 floors. She was received upon her arrival by Her Highness Sayyida Dr. Muna bint Fahd Al Said, Honorary Chairperson of the Library, and Her Excellency Dr. Madiha bint Ahmed Al Shibaniya, Minister of Education. The works of the 28th Arab Scouts Conference started in Muscat amid an active participation from specialists in the field from the Arab and international countries. The 4-day conference discussed a number of work papers and included discussion sessions which review Scout movement and its development and means of activating it in the future. The conference reviewed the strategic plan of Arab Scout movement until 2020 and Omani experience in environmental sustainability, in addition the ways to activate the Scout movement in the society. The inauguration ceremony was presided over by His Highness Said Shihab bin Tariq Al Said. The Ministry of Manpower issued a decision on amending fees for issuing work permits, which are valid for 2 years. The text of the decision stated that the license fee to bring practice and register data of the worker at business work is 301 Omani Riyals. The fees for bringing practice, register and renew private business in the category of housemaid and the like is 141 Omani Riyals, starting from 1 worker to 3 workers. For farmers and the cattle breeders, the license fees to bring practice to work, register data for the worker and renew is 201 Riyals for 1 to 3 workers. The decision also stated that the issuance fees for temporary licenses to bring and practice work for non-Omani workers will be 60 Omani Riyals for 4 months and 135 Omani Riyals for 9 months. Exemption also is allowed in case of business owner's death and until the procedures are finished, either to transfer the workers to another owner or until the termination of contract and repatriation to the worker's country. The seminar titled From Crisis to Opportunities Horizon in Oil and Gas was organized in Muscat by the Omani Friendship Association OFFA with the partnership of experts from major oil and gas companies. The seminar came to shed light on the implications of the current drop of oil prices. The participants shared views on means of addressing these challenges, enhancing public-private partnership and the future trends. It was also considered an ideal platform to raise recommendations to the role of public and private sectors and enable them to overcome the implications of the crisis. The seminar also focused on exploring more effective means for economic diversification. It's worth mentioning that the OFFA was created to enhance cooperation relations among partners. It also aims at enhancing and expanding the horizons of the Omani-French relations through promoting trade, cultural, economic, and social cooperation. His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Hamad Al-Rumhi, Minister of Oil and Gas, stressed the desire of foreign companies in investing at oil and gas sector in the Sultanate. Clarified that the Sultanate is able to increase the production by 50,000 additional barrels per day by the next year.
Now we are going into the economics. We are looking into partners to join us, into the few investors who are interested, actually many investors that are interested. So we are talking to them, and each investor, when they come, they have to review everything. But things are looking good.
From his side, His Excellency Roland Duberon, French ambassador to the Sultan, said that the trade volume between the Sultan and France reached more than 6 million euros and praised the level of good relations between Muscat and Paris.
What was really a new thing was the creation of this association, which is the French Omani Friendship Association, created now to foster the economic exchanges between the two countries. The Minister of Oil and Gas was here, and it was a deep and a profound debate about the economic opportunities of the present situation in the region. And we talked too, of course, about the relationships between France and Oman, because the French government wants us to have more, including more economic presence in Oman, being for the investments in the country or the economic exchanges with the imports and the exports. Each year, the amount of trade is around 600 million euros each year, which is good, but we have to the investment, and the investment of the French companies in Oman are of 1.2 billion of euros, and it means that it's quite significant, and we represent 6% of the foreign investment in the country. I see the French company with the willingness to invest more in the PPP, public-private partnerships with the government.
Still to come, a news bulletin reviewing the quality of seafood was the center of discussions of the workshop organized by the Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Wealth. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. The Sultanate's trade balance until the end of May 2016 registered surplus of more than 560 million Omani riyals. The National Center for Statistics and Information pointed out that the value of Sultanate's exports of oil and gas registered a decline by 37.5% to reach around 2.1 billion riyals compared to the same period last year. Meanwhile, the value of commodity exports stood at more than 4 billion Omani riyals, recording a decline by 28.4%. The commodity imports also declined by 23.4% to reach around 3 billion Omani riyals by the end of May 2016. Engineer Isam bin Saud Al-Zijali, Chief Executive Officer of Oman Oil Company, in a statement to Oman Radio and Television, stressed that the financing process of establishment of a refinery in Duqm is almost finished, as the construction works are about to begin. He also added that during the upcoming few days, a number of agreements will be signed with new partners regarding refinery. The Sultan, represented by the Minister of Commerce and Industry, is making great efforts to combat dumping, of raising awareness and enhancing knowledge of the industrial sector on the harmful practices in international trade. These steps will enhance cooperation with international organizations and achieve the aims of the Sultan's commercial policies, namely opening new markets for the Omani products, attracting foreign investments, and benefiting from the Sultan's membership at the regional and international commercial agreements and conventions. The GCC Common Law on anti-dumping, countervailing and safeguarding measures aims at enabling the Sultanate to take necessary measures against dumping policy practices, the subsidy and the increase in the imports of the GCC countries as they harm the national industries. Exchanging viewpoints and a number of matters of common concern between the Sultan and the United Kingdom were the main topics discussed at the meeting held by Lieutenant General Ahmed bin Harith al-Nabhani, Chief of Staff of the Sultan's Armed Forces, with Lieutenant General Tom Beckett, Senior Advisor for Middle East at the British Ministry of Defence. The quality of seafood was the centre of discussion at a workshop organized by the Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries Wealth in cooperation with the Association of the Indian Ocean Rim Countries. The workshop aimed at acquainting participants with local and international regulations related to safety and quality of fish and its products. Specialists from fish quality control centers discussed in 5 days the requirements to ensure the quality of seafood products. They also analyzed the nature of risks and preventive measures in the field. Around 15 million tons, or 16% of the global fish production, is the average production of member countries of the association. The Sultan's participation came to strengthen its relations with member states and benefits from its strategic location as a link between Asia and Africa. With the participation of a number of governments and non-government private bodies, workshop was organized on the community partnership to support and finance the purchase of prosthetic device and assistance means for disabled people rehabilitation. The workshop discussed the types of these devices, financial requirements to purchase them, and expected contribution of partners in this regard. It also dealt with challenges forcing disabled associations in purchasing these devices. The workshop came up with a joint vision based on establishing development partnership to fulfill the requirements of disabled people to help them to be self-dependent individuals and active contributors in the society. Using Omani manuscripts in student researches and discussing linguistic issues related to higher education students were the topics discussed in the seminar on the Omani postgraduate studies. Participants also dealt with challenges facing Omani postgraduate students with regard to research achievements. The seminar stressed the importance of paying attention to Omani literature in general in academic curriculum. Buckingham Palace Art Gallery unveiling a new exhibit which explores artistic portraits in all their various forms from small sketches to exploring 5-meter wide of painting. Among the famous faces hanging on the walls are Queen Elizabeth, Prince Philip, Rubens and Reynolds. Here's a report.
Portraits can take on several different meanings. This self-portrait by Flemish artist Peter Paul Rubens was an apology. It was sent to English monarch Charles I after an earlier piece had been found to be a studio work and not from the artist's own hand. Rubens had sent the earlier work not knowing it was intended for the monarch. This replacement was intended to showcase his talents. It's now taking pride of place in a new exhibition at the Queen's Gallery, Buckingham Palace. Portrait of the artist features over 150 paintings drawn from the royal collection. It shows there is more to portraits than just faces. Sometimes they can be used for self-promotion. At other times they show artists at work.
This is very much not an exhibition of a series of faces. It's not just a series of self-portraits of similar-looking people through time. There are themes within this exhibition which include the cult of the artist, for example, so all about the artistic personality, what it means to be an artist. So artists at various times have been esteemed and raised to the same level as a prince or an emperor, but some have felt very rejected. So it's the idea of what it means to be an artist. But we will also have images of artists at work, and we have artists dressing up or playing different roles, so playing the role of a personification or of a figure or wearing very strange clothing.
This 1908 self-portrait by French painter Jean-Baptiste Edouard Detail shows him sporting an extravagant moustache and puffing a pipe. He's wearing the uniform of Red Lancer from Napoleon's Imperial Guard from almost 100 years earlier. With the rising status from the Renaissance onwards, artists increasingly acknowledge their own profession in self-portraits, perhaps showing a brush or palette. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, makes an appearance, and his art does too.
The Duke of Edinburgh, one of his favoured artists was Edward Seago, and he invited Seago to accompany him on a trip on HMS Britannia back from Australia in 1956, because he thought that Seago might see some amazing landscapes as they sailed past Antarctica for Seago to paint. And while they were there, evidently they painted each other.
Bringing things right up to date, there's this etched self-portrait by Lucien Freud. It was done in 1996, when he was 74 years old. Freud also makes an appearance in this photograph, showing him painting a portrait of the Queen in 2001.
The wonderful thing about portraits or self-portraits is that it can show you at work. So you see the artist standing at their easel, but you also see the artist how they want to be depicted. So if you see them in the role of some great character from the Bible, it's fantastic. You know, it's almost like dressing up for Halloween.
The largest work in the exhibit is this sprawling 5-meter-wide oil painting of revelers escorting a 13th century altarpiece through the streets of Florence. In the self-portrait by the Italian painter Artemisia Gentileschi, she's dressed in a dirty apron and looks strained as she observes her subject.
It's a wonderful recording of your life. You know, as you say, you know, we take selfies today or we write things down in the diary, but there's nothing to show the energy as much as when somebody paints an image of themselves, either how they really are or how they'd like to be seen.
Some portraits can poke fun. This work by painter Edwin Lancia shows 2 dogs looming over his shoulders, seemingly judging his work. In perhaps a sign of things to come, there's this 2012 self-portrait of David Hockney. It was drawn on an Apple iPad, then inkjet printed. Portrait of the artist runs from 4th November till 17th April at the Queen's Gallery.
And now for the general forecast around the Sultanate. Clear skies will prevail over most of the governorates with chances of low clouds and fog early in the morning and at night on the coasts of the areas of South and Sharqiya and Wusta. Winds will be southwesterly light to the coastal areas of the Sea of Oman, while on the rest of the coast it will be southeasterly light to moderate, and seas will be slight to the maximum wave height of 1 meter. This is the Sultan of Oman television. Before we enter tonight's bulletin, in the main points once again. Their Royal Highnesses Prince of Wales and Duchess of Cornwall leave the Sultanate after a 3-day visit. The 28th Arab Scouts Conference in Muscat reviews strategic plan of Arab Scout movements. And the Ministry of Manpower issues decision on amending fees for issuing work permits to bring on non-Omani workers. And with that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin from all of us here in the newsroom and the studios. Good night.